So anyway, we can just talk normally.
Okay.
And this is a really good microphone, and it picks everything up. And I like to do podcasts in rooms where there's some noise and some activity.
Okay.
It makes it more interesting.
Oh, really?
When I hear it.
Okay.
Oh, I think they put onions. So we're here in the McDonald's. We're here in the McDonald's on Hollywood Boulevard.
Ooh.
The famous McDonald's.
Yeah.
We've gone cheap. We've gone downhill from Mel's, and they put onions on my burger, even though I told them not to. You know, that's one thing. You know, they want to raise the minimum wage here in L.A., but you know, I ordered two things, and they didn't get either of them right. So if you're arguing to me to raise the minimum wage in Los Angeles, then you're falling upon deaf ears, because they cannot even. And listen, I've done those jobs, and I got my orders right.
I see what you're saying, but then I feel like you have a lot of high hopes for minimum wage. I feel like, you know, your food is warm and fresh. I didn't spit in it. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
You pay me a few extra more dollars, I'll make sure that your order is correct.
Protection money. Don't steal the $2 that's spit in my food. I hope not. You know? But, yeah, with me falling upon deaf ears. Both my orders wrong.
Although that bacon McDouble looks good.
Yeah. It's only $2 or something. It's not too bad.
Yeah. It was supposed to be...
2 chicken strips.
Oh, okay, but they give you a crispy chicken...
Buttermilk chicken sandwich instead.
Oh, okay.
Which is probably different, because I think it's like a big chicken McNugget that's on there.
Oh.
Instead of the chicken tenders, which are a little bit actual meat that you know where it comes from.
Yeah, I think there's no real actual meat in McDonald's. I think it's all pretend.
Yeah? Could be.
I think it all is.
Could be pretend. And then also, with the minimum wage, what's going to happen, and what is happening already, is they are putting in machines instead, and kiosks instead, to get rid of more employees. So now you're going to be ordering at a view screen in more places, and also they're making machines that make the fries and everything for you. It's all done by a machine, and a burger flipping machine, stuff like that. So the job is just going to go away. You'll just have to get rid of your job, because you can't pay you $15 an hour for a job that's only making them $15 an hour. So you have to have machines. That's one of the reasons that we live better now, is because machines... I do hear something over there. Turn on those TVs over there. Anyway, well, hopefully it won't get picked up in the background and then turned off by YouTube on my thing.
Oh, I know. That would be horrible. So you post your audios on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
And iTunes and some other places. WordPress. A guy does it for me, and I'm lucky enough to have this guy who likes me, and he just puts me on his network.
Okay.
So that's fun. So you are
Erika Edwards.
Name and social security number.
Yeah.
Rank.
No.
Social security number.
No.
And you're a comedian in Los Angeles?
Correct. I started in Chicago, and I now live in Los Angeles.
And what made you want to be a comedian, besides having a horrible childhood?
I think I always wanted to be an actress and writer and all of those things. And then I just started watching a lot of comedy on Comedy Central and some other places. And I was like, oh, they're not that funny. They're on TV. I think I could do it too. And so I did.
Yeah, you see all kinds of not funny comedy out there.
Yeah, I certainly do.
Okay, I'm going to pause this for a second because I'm taking this giant chicken McNugget sandwich back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask them for what I ordered. So I'm going to pause and I'll be right back. Okay, so you were in Chicago and you saw unfunny people on television and decided you were funnier.
Yes.
And decided to get out and do it.
Yep.
So what was it like in Chicago starting out?
It was great. Chicago has a really great comedy scene. So there are a lot of open mics. There are a lot of book shows. It's pretty easy to build your act and get stage time and go on the road and all that.
Well, that sounds great. Why on earth would you ever come to LA?
Because I also wanted to write for TV and film and work on scripts and do some other things outside of just comedy.
Are you doing that now?
I am.
What have you done?
I've written a feature and I'm in the process of writing a pilot.
That's good.
So yeah, it's cool.
That sounds like fun.
It's fun.
Do you need an agent for that?
You need an agent for everything if you actually want to get paid.
Yeah.
But I do not have one currently. I mean, I want to get a few more scripts under my belt before I really look for an agent.
I was watching an episode of Sanford and Son.
Okay.
Which I grew up watching.
Okay.
In the 70s. And I was looking at the end, and it said, written by Richard Pryor.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know that, but I'm not that surprised. I know they were good friends. So.
He used to make a lot of money doing that stuff. Yeah, I guess Richard Pryor used to go to Red Fox's shows and like sit in the back and take notes with a pen and pencil.
That is cool. Wait a second. Can you pause it one more second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was thinking of doing a podcast down in the subway stations in LA.
Oh.
And every time the train comes in, it's like a big noise. So it'll be like it'll break it up. And then every time a train comes, they have to switch subject matter. Every time a train comes and stops, and then we have to change.
Okay, well that sounds like a lot, but it might work.
Well, I think it's fun. Since I have this mobile recorder, it's good. I've done music on this too. It's great.
Oh, really?
Sounds great. Sounds wonderful.
Okay.
Musicians are like, wow, that sounds really great. What kind of microphone is that? So it works out good.
Was that a pricey microphone?
Not really, not that much money. It's like $35, and it works really great. And technology is getting so much better since those UFOs crashed in Roswell and gave us all that technology. Our technology is advancing so much, you can just do anything, anywhere now. I was even thinking that I could do. There's this app that records conversations on Messenger. So I was thinking I could also do a podcast by just calling someone on Messenger and then recording it and then uploading it onto my YouTube channel.
Ah, okay.
Which would be cool because then I could call anyone. I could do a podcast with a physicist in Sweden, or whatever, or a porn star in Russia, or whatever it is that I wanted to do. I could then do that, and then it would just be a Facebook Messenger call.
Exactly. You could even do a porn star in Reseda without going to the Valley.
Without actually having to go to the Valley, which would be a big benefit. That would be good.
Exactly.
Or a philosopher who lives in. I did an interview with an undertaker, where he told me all the grossest stories of his life as an undertaker.
Okay.
So if I find someone that's interesting, I'll just do that. You know, and I'll get. But I'm trying to build an audience, trying to make it work. We'll see what happens. When I get to, my 1,000th podcast, if I don't have something going on, then I'll just quit. What can I say?
You could go on to 2,000. Why not?
2,000. Well, then I have to make a decision at 1,000. Like when I decided to do comedy, I decided that if I didn't cause a riot or get paid, that I would quit after 3 years. And when 3 years came about, I had been paid and I had also caused a riot. I had done both. So I met both of my challenges.
Interesting.
So that was a good thing. What are your goals as a comedian?
As a comedian, I would say to write and star in my own show.
Yeah.
That would be my goal.
Yeah. What would you call your show?
Exactly, Erika.
Exactly, Erika. Okay. That's good. It'd be like Louis. He had his show. It was called Lucky Louie first, and then it only lasted one season. The next season, he called it just Louie. So it could be Exactly Erika the first season. Then it gets canceled. Then you bring it back, and it could just be called.
All right. See, I'm totally into the law of attraction. My show's not getting canceled.
Yeah, he says a lot of interesting things about that. He just says, you can't get discouraged no matter what. You just move on to the next thing. You just say, like, okay, so what? And you just go to the next thing, go to the next thing, go to the next thing. And it's worked for him.
Until he started harassing people, right? Or no?
Well, it's pretty controversial whether or not he was, he asked everyone for consent and everyone said okay. And that was like, people are debating that a lot online, whether or not he actually.
They're like, okay, if you still want to keep doing comedy.
Well, he wasn't that powerful then. Those incidents with the two comics, he wasn't that powerful then. He was just another comic at that point. He wasn't the god of the comedy world.
I mean, I know other people since he's been. I mean, it's not those only. It's not only two people, right?
Yeah, no, there were 5 people, and there was one woman who said who was into it, and then later on she changed her mind.
No. What I mean is, that there's people that haven't come forward. Like,
yeah.
I know people personally who told me about this before the whole Me Too movement, and they're not in any of the stories. So if they're not, then there's other women who are just sitting back watching who he did stuff to.
Okay, but did he do anything to them non-consensually? Did they agree with it?
I wouldn't say if they agreed. I don't think, kind of like with Weinstein, sometimes stuff happens quicker than you can agree to.
Really?
Like, from the understanding of this story, I didn't think the person had a chance to really respond before he started whipping out and doing his thing. So,
well, he needs to get more consent. He needs to worry about that. It needs to have. But a woman can't change her mind later, and so it's something they get all the time, and then she changes her mind later. And but it's kind of like, how much consent do you have to get?
Especially if you're in a position of authority or power over somebody else. So it's one thing to say that you attacked people or whatever, but it's another thing to say, yeah, if you don't do this, you're not going to have a career, or I'm going to mess up your comedy career, which I've had people tell me that. So that is something where you have to think, okay, if I just got to stand here and watch him do whatever, and he's going to stop me from getting my little $100 at these little cheap feature shows, and I'm already living on a couch. Yeah, I guess you consented, quote unquote.
Yeah, well, that I didn't hear any of those stories. All I heard was stories where he did not have any power over those other people. There was one woman that said that she asked him to do this, and he said, and she said that she was disturbed by it, But, you know, people ask me, girls ask me all the time, and guys, I'm not into guys at all, but I have guys hit on me, and I've had girls ask me all the time to do something that I'm not into. I used to have a girl in my apartment building.
Yeah, but if that could get you onto a TV show, would you do it?
No. She wanted me to sleep with her and her boyfriend. I'm not going anywhere near any dudes. I am a vegetarian very strictly.
Okay.
And she asked me this all the time, and was like trying to talk me into it. I'm like, no, not gonna happen, not gonna happen. But you know, am I a victim now? Do I sue the apartment building because they let her live there and she's a sexual predator? You know, as far as women being more weaker, she could have had mace, she could have had a knife, she could have had a gun, she could have gotten very upset and shot me or stabbed me or something like that. You know, who knows if she was crazy?
She could have, and if she had those weapons with her and threatened you, then you certainly would have a lawsuit.
I certainly would if I had complained previously to the owners of the establishment where I was living. So, you know, there's a lot of interesting stuff there. It sounds to me that he should have been more careful, you know, and also be more concerned that he may have power over these people, and that happens, but the stories that got out there weren't people that he had any power over. One was a producer, and he was a writer. The other one was just an employee that was on the same level, I think, as he was. And the other people were just comics when he was just a nobody comic. You know, he was just another comic like they were. Maybe a little bit more, let's say, popular than they were at the time. But, you know, what can you say? I mean, and then people are going on about how unusual it is. I don't know what other people's lives are like. I've had women ask me if they could do that in front of me, and I would watch or help or anything, or things like that, and have them asked to watch me do that and help and all kinds of weird things. I don't know what kind of rock people are living under, or whether I have some kind of an unusual, I just meet, you know, some perverted women or something. But, you know, I think people need to get out there. If you're really shocked by that, you need to get out there and meet some perverts in your life and have some adventures.
If you're not dating
a
person and it's somebody that you're working with, it is odd, awkward, and a bit weird. And certainly, like, if you're a comedian on the road and the person is the headliner and you're the feature and they tell you, you know, you back in the green room somewhere, they say, okay, let me whip this out right quick. I mean, that's cray-cray.
So guys need to think about that more often.
I mean, because it's the workplace. It's one thing, you're right. It's one thing if somebody you're dating, if you're dating a comic or whatever, if you're dating the person, then, you know, they might have bedroom suggestions. But if I'm doing a show with you, yeah, no, that's weird.
Mm-hmm. I don't think these two were on shows together. I think they were on a festival together.
You're a comedian?
Yeah.
Up there? Yeah, man, I got a joke.
No. We're busy.
But yes, so that's even worse. I mean, you mean to tell me I might be someplace like Montreal trying to be discovered, and now I got to be in the green room with this scuzzball? That's
well,
horrible.
you gotta. If you think that he's a scuzzball, then say no and leave. You know, if I'm in Montreal and I go to some guy's room and he pulls out the midget covered in whipped cream and the kangaroo or whatever he's got there, and it's not my scene, I'm going to get the hell out of there, a girl or guy or whatever. It's not my thing.
Okay.
There's a door over there. Get the hell out. You know? But if a girl's worried about being physically harmed in some way, then that's a whole other problem.
Okay. All right.
Well, no, I mean, we're sitting here, you know, tell me what you think.
I mean, I think that places like festivals, if you're on the road with someone, it's business. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not in an intimate relationship or trying to have one with that person, then there's no reason why we're on the same show. I should be seeing your private parts. That's just disgusting, and it's inappropriate. And especially if you're someone who's more famous than I am, because then I'm not going to want to say anything, because now my career is going to get hurt. And that's why I assume people didn't say anything before, but it was certainly well known because people have been talking about it. So,
No, I remember it being talked about beforehand. So people can't hook up on the road. That would be wrong.
No, you can hook up, but you don't just start whipping yourself out with stuff with people that you're on the show with.
Well,
because obviously, I mean, that's the thing. Obviously, if there were people that he was actually sleeping with and seeing, as in some stories of other people, then it would be a different scenario. But the people that I know, they just were on the show. Like, why am I looking at this? So that's just not appropriate for business. You wouldn't do that at a regular job. Why do you think? Because you do comedy, now you can start, like, the only job where that's appropriate is porn. And if you're not on a porno set, then you should not be whipping out your private parts, in my humble opinion. Well, or maybe a strip club. I'll give you a strip club. You know what I mean? You back in the green room trying to practice your dance or something. That I can understand. But, yeah, after a show, we're all hanging out, and you're like, woo, let me just start pleasuring myself in front of you, even though we don't date. I'm not trying to date you. I just want you. No, that's too much.
Well, I don't think that he just whipped it out. I think they were probably talking about sex for a long time beforehand, and then...
Yeah, no, the story I heard, he was not
permission.
talking about sex a long time. Because that's the thing. If it was somebody that he was hooking up with or was trying to hook up with, then he probably would not have gotten the backlash that he did. It was the random chick in the room where I'm just going to start pulling this out, and we're talking about, our next comedy show. That makes it a problem.
Well, we don't really know, because we don't know what happened. Did you ever hear about the Satanic Panic? Are you old enough to remember that?
No.
The Satanic Panic was in the late 70s and throughout the 80s. There were the television, the news, the politicians, and the people in law enforcement were all telling us there was a worldwide cult of satanic people, of Satan worshipers that were molesting children all over the world.
Oh, okay. I think there was a Lifetime movie about this.
And there's lots. There's tons of documentaries. You can look it up on YouTube. And what they said was that these children are being molested by Satan worshipers all over the world, and they were putting people in jail all over the world, all over the United States. They arrested a 70-year-old woman in a wheelchair who was a kindergarten teacher, put her in jail for a while. Other people were put in jail, took them 15 years to get out, and none of them were guilty. There were no worldwide Satan-worshipping, satanic, sex ritual child molesters anywhere in the world. But yet for 10 years, all over the world, people were going to jail, and the people were being put in jail here in Florida, in California, in England, in Europe, in Australia, and a lot of these people struggled to get out of jail for like 15 years, and then the kids grew up and said, the police actually came to me and told me that I needed to lie, because if I didn't, he was going to do this to somebody else. And I needed to lie about it. So,
so
this reminds me of the Satanic Panic, the whole Me Too thing. It reminds me of that.
Why?
Because I lived through that.
Because, first of all, there are adults that this is happening to, a lot of them, but it is some underage people, underage women, underage actresses and stuff, but primarily the people are grown. And secondly, the men have admitted it, most of them. So it's not like they're saying they didn't do it. He did it. He admitted it. They're saying, I'm sorry. So
okay. All
I
right.
was saying no one is telling the women to lie.
I don't know about that. There's a lot of pressure right now. from certain groups in our society. And a lot of people are elevated when they have something to say. Like a lot of the women who accuse Cosby have websites now and are selling stuff, and agents and shopping book deals and the whole thing. Not that I don't think he's not guilty of anything, but when the police looked into a lot of the women, they found that they were completely lying. Like there were 2 women at the Playboy Mansion who said that they did something to him, or he did something to them.
Okay.
And then the police investigated it, and they went to the Playboy Mansion, and they found out, and that the Playboy Mansion has archives of all of the parties, and they even have some videotapes, which are surveillance videos of the hallways where people come and go to the parties, and they hire photographers to go around and take photographs of everyone, especially the celebrities, for the party. And then they also have a log where everyone has to log in. And they went there and they couldn't find the women involved or Cosby. And they talked to their friend and said, oh, she makes up stuff about celebrities all the time. We've heard this our whole lives. And then her friends and their parents would say that as well. Their friends would say, well, I was with her every weekend. We never went to the Playboy Mansion. We never met Cosby. And then they also went to Cosby, and he gave them his archives where he had posters of him performing in front of thousands of people in the other side of the country in the weekend in question. So even though I don't think he's not guilty of anything, a lot of these women, when the police looked into it, every case of the police have looked into has turned out to be false. There was one woman, Gloria Allred, represented her when she said another famous person raped her in 1980. And now she's come back around again with the same lawyer, Gloria Allred, saying that Cosby raped her, trying to join that lawsuit. She tried to hop on another lawsuit before. So there are elements that remind me of the Satanic Panic. I think maybe you have some legitimate concerns, certainly with people like Harvey Weinstein, and then we have other people that are piling on. There was also a woman who says that he did something to her in the green room at Johnny Carson, and people just looked it up on the Internet Movie Database and found she was never on a show with Johnny Carson. And she was a person that just goes to movie openings now. She's an old lady. She goes to movie openings now and wears a gown and tries to walk on the red carpet and talk to reporters and pretend she's in the movie. And she was one of the people that was accused of. So there's a whole bunch of batshit crazy out there. And, you've got to deal with it. I deal with batshit crazy all the time.
Okay.
Well, you can say more than that. You can say, no, I think you're wrong, Mark. That's fine.
I mean, I think you are wrong, but, you're certainly entitled to your opinion.
Okay. Well, it reminds me a lot of the Satanic Panic.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot different because those are children, and you've given me a couple of examples, but then there's a lot of people who Cosby did attack, for example, and the statute of limitations on rape has run, so they couldn't charge him with those even if they wanted to.
Well,
so
those examples that I was citing, there's two of the women, and that were accusing him of that, and the police looked into it and found that it was completely not true. Completely.
Two out of how many? Like, are we going to Google how many people have charged him? There are people that have looked into it, and there's really only 5 that have any credibility. And beyond that, there's maybe 15 that have some credibility. Really?
So I can go down the entire list of women and go over what the problems are with each one of them. But that's about 5 women that I described. But the rest of them, there's many other of them who think they're also talking to UFOs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of them who are just crazy. A lot of them I don't believe, and then maybe there's somebody else. But if I was on the jury, of the one that did go to court, I would have problems with it, even though I think maybe he's guilty of something. What are you looking up? Are you looking up something?
I'm looking up how many people have charged him with.
Oh, they keep saying 40. They keep saying 40 people. 40 women have come forward with.
So if it's 40, and you're saying, okay, 2 out of 40.
No, I'm saying that many people have looked into it, and they say there's really only 5 credible.
Who is
people.
many people?
Many people.
Who's many people?
I can keep.
If it's not the police, I don't care what many people have to say. I want to know what the police have to say.
Yeah, the police, everyone that the police looked into, they found that this is not very good. They found that this is completely true to completely not credible. But you have to understand also during the Satanic Panic, the authorities, the police, the politicians, all the people in the media, everyone around everywhere was saying, psychiatrists, psychologists, saying, you must believe these children. This is true.
Just
these
like
people
now,
are guilty and we must put them in
media
jail.
And police and other people who are saying that these people are batshit crazy. So you are going to believe who you believe.
Well, I believe that. I believe some of it, but I take it all with a grain of salt. I believe some of it. Like I said, I do believe that maybe Cosby is guilty of something. That maybe some of these women are credible, but looking into it, no. And everyone then, if you dared to suggest that these people weren't all guilty during the Satanic Panic, you would get thrown out of the party. You would lose your job at ABC if you questioned it. If you said, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Just like a lot of women have not been able to work and have lost their jobs because either they chose not to sleep with these people or they reported what happened to them. Mm-hmm. So. Okay.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not saying that there's no legitimate complaints. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a lot of it sounds like too much, like I already talked about this on one of my other podcasts, like Aziz Ansari, if I'm pronouncing his name right. That story just sounds a lot. No, that's when that was the end of it, when people were like, come on, put on your clothes and leave, you know? If you're in his apartment and you're naked, and he's trying to have sex with you, and now you're mad at him, what would he be doing? Why are you there with your clothes off? You know what I mean? And as soon as he knew that she wanted to leave, he called a cab for her, and she left. Did you read the story? Did you read her encounter?
I did read that encounter, and I think objectively everyone has pretty much said it just sounded like a bad date. So.
Yeah.
Aziz hasn't been charged with anything, and he said he was sorry. So.
And he lost his TV show, and he lost his deal on Netflix, and he lost a lot of money over it. So in that case, to me, you know, he's out there. He's trying to date. He's trying to date somebody. If I go out and I'm trying to find my next wife, you know. Am I guilty of some bad thing because I'm dating people, you know? If I'm going out with people?
No, but if you get to that point and they're like, no, and they really feel pressured or whatever that girl, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but...
Well, you know, you have to
it's still uncool.
You have to let the guy know in some way, you know? Guys are kind of unaware that, you know, what's going on. They're just have a very strong sex drive, and they're just trying to do something about it. Is that what it is? Yeah.
You're so driven that they don't see you doing the Heisman maneuver to get them off you. Well, don't notice that move at all.
Well, I would notice that, and most men would notice that, but then in the case of Aziz, she was naked in his apartment giving him oral sex at 2 a.m, and he was supposed to somehow know that she was not wanting to do that? How is he supposed to know that? You know?
Well, I wasn't there, so I don't know what her clues actually were.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either. But it sounds to me, you know, put your clothes on and leave. I mean, how many
But
days?
she did eventually, because they didn't actually sleep together. So
Yeah, she did. So she wasn't not free to go or anything like that. But you know, just because a guy's famous, he's not supposed to date anyone ever that isn't as famous and rich as him.
no, he can date anybody, but when they're uncomfortable and they're like, "Get up off me," then
Well,
you
yeah.
have more to lose, so you should be more cautious.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, he didn't hear that. She didn't have any kind of description of him saying that, of Aziz saying that to her. He didn't at all. So it was like, what can you do? So it looks, there's an element here of a witch hunt, of the Satanic Panic going on, of just like,
Not
you're
really,
guilty.
because almost all of these people have admitted to doing the stuff. 80% of the time, they're like, "Oh, sorry." You know what I'm saying? And Bill Cosby
Hey, if I knew,
definitely drugged people
Yeah, okay.
and had sex with them while they were
Okay.
unconscious, for sure. And Harvey sounds like he probably absolutely raped people. So, you know.
well, they keep saying they're going to charge Harvey Weinstein, but they have not.
That is true.
They keep saying that, but they haven't. And he also, I did hear an interview with one of the women that says that he raped her, and she's not credible. Has already talked to the police because she said they were both drunk. They went up to her apartment and he raped her. And then the second time, she brought him up. They were both drunk, and they went up to her apartment, and she wanted to confront him about raping her before. So she brought him up to her apartment again, and then he ended up attacking her again, which is, to me, that's not going to work in a court, because if someone supposedly raped you, would you invite them back up to your apartment? I wouldn't. No, if it was a girl and she raped me, yes, I might.
I don't feel like I can pass judgment on any person, really. And certainly if you are dealing with someone that you thought, you know.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the casting couch in Hollywood is going to go away?
I mean, hopefully this will have an impact on that, for sure.
Could make it worse.
I don't think so.
No? Like I've been in situations in comedy and elsewhere in my life where there'll be an older, unattractive, overweight woman who really likes me and is making overtures to me, and she may be in a position of power to get me somewhere in comedy, and I'm not really interested in her or even repulsed by her, and she'll be hitting on me, and maybe I lose some opportunity because I won't sleep with her. I mean, isn't that something that we all kind of deal with in our lives?
I mean, I guess we do, but I think it's different than the person, one, stopping you from getting other opportunities because you didn't sleep with them, and or you have to sleep with them to get the opportunity. So that doesn't make it right. That's why it's called sexual harassment.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make it right, but it doesn't seem like it's ever, to me, going to go away, because people are just going to be attracted to other people. You know?
It's not a matter of being attracted. It's a matter of using your power to get someone to do something they don't want to do in the workplace.
Well, I wouldn't want to do that. I want the woman to actually want me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want to use any kind of power that I had, you know? So that would be kind of like, so if I did, I think I would want to find someone, like I've never been in a situation where I've had any kind of, power over anyone else or anything like that. I've had roommates that have hit on me sexually, and
Did they offer to discount your rent?
no.
And they weren't serious enough.
And I have to say, this has nothing to do if we're going to proceed. This has nothing to do with your rent. You know what I mean? We have to make
why would
sure.
they proceed?
Because they like me or they are interested in me.
Oh. Okay.
I wouldn't want it otherwise. I wouldn't want someone to be with me because they're trying to get something from me. That would be, to me, not what I want, because I want actual, genuine romance and love from the person, hopefully, that I'm being romantic with.
Yeah, but that's different than the casting couch. That's different than the nature of the industry. That's different than someone saying, well, if you want to get this role, this is what you have to do. And, certainly you're right. People in the industry date each other. It's one thing to date somebody. It's another thing to make them feel like they have to do something with you to get a role or get a part or get ahead. And then even I saw that article about Scott Baio, and it's unclear,
It's very unclear because the girl changes her story every time she opens her mouth. But then again, what is the proper way?
But they did date, and she was probably too young even when she was over 16 or whatever. I mean, he was clearly too old for her from the beginning. So he probably was grooming her, to be honest. Did he push it too far when she was 12? One would hope not. That would be disgusting, but...
Yeah, and there are many, let me tell you, there are many younger women out there that are attracted to older men.
Yeah, but if they're 16, you might let that shit go.
Right. Well, if they're 16, that's too young, and it certainly is too young in California. But in other states, it's not. In some states, it's entirely not. There was that guy, there was a football player in Colorado, and she slept with a woman who was 17 from California. But in Colorado, the age of consent is 17, and in California, the age of consent is 18. So if she would have met him in California, if he would have flown out to see her, it would have been rape and a felony, and he'd be in jail for 6 years. But since she flew to Colorado to see him, no charges were filed. Here was the Birdman. Have you heard about that one?
No.
Oh, this was a whole internet thing, and it was strange because they were gotten together by somebody in Canada who was pretending to be both of them and got them together online into this encounter, and a lot of the communications went through her, this girl in Canada, instead of going through the two of them. She put them together online and then coaxed them to get together. So she was actually in Canada. You can look it up online. Colorado. It's kind of an interesting story because she's this woman who's in Canada who's stuck at her house, this 17, 18-year-old girl taking care of her mother who's ill, and her thing was to get these two people together online, this football player and this model, this Instagram model in LA, and she got them together online.
Okay, that does sound like an interesting story. I will check that out.
But you tell the guys in the comedy world what they're supposed to be doing. Let's say I'm a famous comic, which I am not. Okay, I'm not a famous comic, and I'm dating someone who's less famous than me. Am I not allowed to date someone who's a less famous comic than me?
No one is saying that you couldn't date anybody.
Okay, well, what?
The casting couch is not a date.
Okay.
The casting couch is if you want this part, if you want this show, if you want this gig, you need to have sex with me, and that's wrong, and that should be obvious.
Yeah, it is.
To all the comics out there.
And unless it's a state where prostitution is legal, then that would be perfectly legal.
I don't know how legal it is to proposition random people to have sex. it's legal for the person to choose to sell it. I don't know how legal it is for you to harass other people.
Right.
It's
Well, that's not
state.
illegal, but you tell like guys in the comedy world like what they should do to like avoid.
If you're not dating the person, then then it's a wrap. Just let them do their comedy, and that should be it.
Okay, so let's say I'm doing a show, which I've done,
Right.
and girls have been like very flirty with me. Okay, like they come up to me, oh hi Mark, and they like stand really close to me so their breasts are touching my shoulder, and they flip their hair, and they lean forward a little bit and show me a little bit of cleavage. When
Okay,
they talk
maybe
to
you're just
me.
looking at their tits.
I'm always looking at their tits.
Exactly. So
But
that
if
has
they're
anything
helping
to
me
do with-
look at their tits,
that has
I know what I'm
anything to do
talking
with
about.
what they were doing. That just has to do with what you were looking at.
Let's just get this straight. I'm always looking at their tits all the time.
So that's you. That doesn't have anything to do with what they're doing.
But
they're having a conversation with you, and you are
But see,
interpreting
you're-
their natural
you're-
movements
All right,
as
but-
something else.
But I look at them talk to other men, and they're not doing that. I look at them talk to me. They're talking to them before I had the show that I could put them on, and now they're acting a little bit different. And then once I put them on the show, then they are just stop talking to me completely, and they're not interested in me anymore. What,
Okay, were they interested
what should
in you
I do?
to begin with? They were just talking.
No, they
to
weren't.
you.
Only when I had a show. Then suddenly they were interested.
They were trying to
then
get
they were
booked.
very flirty
That's
with me,
it.
trying to get booked.
They were just trying to get booked. That's
So
it.
what should I do?
If they're funny, you should book them.
That's
if
all
they
I-
are not funny, you should not.
That's all I ever did. Basically, just make sure your comedy does not suck. You know,
Exactly.
make sure your comedy does not
You
suck.
should judge them
Like
by
you-
the content of
like-
their comedy, not the content of their brassiere. That's what I would say to anyone.
I put you on my shows, and you've never been flirty with me or anything like that.
Never. I want to make sure everybody hears that. Never.
No, you never were. But I put you on my shows many times.
Yay, and I would like to think that was because I was funny.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have put you on there if you're funny.
And,
I never put anyone that I didn't think at least had some potential on any of my shows, no matter how
And
flirty
that's
they
the
were
thing,
with me or not.
because at the end of the day, if the person's really interested in you, then you'll end up dating them, and then you can date them. But if they're not, and they're just being flirty and fun, then whatever. Just don't do anything crazy, like masturbating in front of them, and then you're good. Let's start with that. Don't pleasure yourself in front of people who are asking you to get booked on your show. That's odd and weird. So don't do that, and you should be fine.
Yeah, okay. So that's that's all guys should know?
That's the main thing, is to not pleasure yourself in front of your coworkers. That's the base. That's where we start off at. Don't pleasure yourself in front of everybody. We know that's wrong. Also, don't slip drugs into people's drinks. Don't roofie people to get them on your show.
But we're
Don't do
talking
that.
about extreme examples here. We're talking about just little examples, like little things, you know? We're talking about like little normal things.
Don't
you know?
grab any boobs. That's not cool. Don't grab any butts. It really, don't touch the person, and just let them, if they're funny, book them, and if they're not, don't.
Well, that's all I've ever done. I've never touched anybody inappropriately that I know of.
All right. Well,
That I wasn't
keep up
dating.
that good record.
That I wasn't dating. That I wasn't going out with.
Well, that is a good thing. So keep up that good record, and you'll be golden. And you don't have to worry about the Me Too movement.
All right. That's not really, but there's a million other little situations out there.
As long as you don't touch the person and really don't touch yourself in a gross way, I think you're covered.
All right, but there are other situations like, let's say you're a comedian at the Comedy Store. There's another unknown comic that is around you being very flirtatious. What should you do? Should you punch her and say, get away from me? I can't have you flirting with me
Okay,
because
I told you already. As long as you don't touch the person and you don't touch yourself
you're not
inappropriately.
allowed to date her.
You can date who you want to date. If the person is interested in you, then you should date them. If you two are interested. But
how would you
dating.
know if she's really interested or not and just trying to
How do you ever know? Sometimes people are just using you for your money and your fame.
Yeah.
That's the nature of people in Los Angeles. You have to find your way, the best way you know how.
But now if you date somebody who's just using you for your money or fame, then you are a monster. Then you are a rapist.
Well, not if you actually date the person.
What do you mean? Like, what's the difference between dating?
Because none of those people were actually in relationships.
Okay.
Harvey Weinstein was already married. He wasn't in relationships with all these random women. He was raping when they came to the hotel room.
Why?
You didn't see those girls again half the time.
Why is he? Yeah, no, I agree. Why are you married to somebody? Why are you doing that and then running around? Why get married if you're going to be running around doing that? It's not time for you to get married. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you know, I think a rapist has to have a home life.
I guess.
So that's why
I guess he wasn't
married.
getting, you know, anything that he wanted from his wife already. Where was his wife during all of this?
Or
you know?
he probably got bored raping the same person every night.
I guess.
I could see you could get tired of the same old. So, but no, seriously, I do feel like as long as you don't touch the person, you don't touch yourself, and you're not like sleazy and scummy, then you should be good to go.
Mm-hmm. All right. Because guys, we're completely confused. Like, we cannot say anything to anyone.
It's not that confusing. Don't touch anybody.
Don't ask anybody out.
I didn't say you couldn't ask anybody out. Asking someone out. No one that I know of has been accused of taking somebody out to dinner to give them a role, and they had to take them out to dinner first, and then now all of a sudden they're a star of their show, and they're being sued for sexual harassment. That, to my knowledge, I haven't read that story yet. So when that story comes out, let me know.
I wrote something on my Facebook post once on how these people attack me, like making up that I shouldn't be asking anyone to dinner that I might potentially book.
Well, it depends. Are you trying to date that person?
No.
Then why are you going to dinner with them?
Because I like them. Because I think they're interesting. Not because I'm attracted to them.
All right. Well, then just go to dinner as a friend.
No. That's not allowed either now too. That's how I was informed. And like people calling me a monster because I suggested that I go to coffee with someone who I potentially booked on a show.
Well, what is the person you went to coffee with?
Even though I was not interested in them. It started out as a post that I wrote that was about me thinking that I was talking to this girl, and I was thinking of I'd always been friends with her, or so I thought.
Okay.
And then it really came to my attention through interacting with her that she thought that this whole time I thought I was being friends with her, that I was attracted to her, and all of this was some kind of romantic overture towards her.
Okay.
And I was voicing my I was voicing my consternation at just the idea I'm just talking to this person who I think is funny and interesting, and I'm not hitting on them. I'm not attracted to them. I mean, I can talk to a girl that I don't want to sleep with, can't I?
Yes. Did you tell the person who thought it was an overture?
What am I supposed to do? Tell her that I think she's physically ugly every time that I see her?
No.
That I don't think she's... How would I do that?
You don't have to say that every time. You can just
once.
say, I see you. Yeah, I feel like that's not something you've got to repeat. So if you just tell them one good time,
if I tell them,
I just see you as a friend and I'm not interested in dating you, then I think
that woman,
obvious.
that I would probably be... I might hurt somebody's feelings by saying that. They're gonna get resentful towards me and take that as I'm
because
saying
they
that
want
they're
you so
ugly.
badly that they don't understand.
No, because that just why would you say that? Why would you say that I'm ugly and you don't like me? You know. Why would you do that? Especially if this person is fantasizing that me just talking to them just being
Was it
friends
really
with
that
them.
much of a fantasy?
I don't
If
know.
you're honest,
Honest
maybe
about
you
what?
were leaning over and showing them a little boob. What really happened?
No, you
tell the
see
people the
that
truth.
this is what happens
wanna
online
know.
is that everyone would say, no, you really secretly wanted this person.
Yes, you know you wanted her.
No.
You did.
Yeah, see that?
You know you were flirting. Did she ever show you what to get on? Was
No.
she trying to book you?
No, I do not want her. She's overweight, and I didn't like that.
Sometimes overweight. Everybody can't be a bikini model, just so that you know. And as you pointed out, those are probably the narcissists anyway.
See, I'm already...
These girls are probably the ones you should be trying to talk to.
Already, I've already been condoned. Like, so if she says, well, why don't you like me? Well, you're just too heavy for me, you know? And, like, it's like, that would be horrible. Then she would be very angry at me and upset and hurt. If I was to ever imply anything like that. And then I am a rotten person if I don't like her, even though she's heavy. You know, there was a girl I fell in love with, one girl who I did go out with, and I fell in love with her. Then she got fat, and I still loved her very much.
Wow, you're so cool for that.
I think that's how you know. I think that's how you know if you're really in love with someone. If they get fat, and you're like,
I know you have a wonderful personality, and you take care of me, but I'm willing to stick with you because you're fat now. That's so great of you, Mark.
well, you see what I mean? You cannot say that or imply that to anyone in any way, shape, or form. See,
yes, calling somebody fat is not that nice.
Well, then
if someone called you fat, I don't think you would like it. You're not the most buff person from what I can see.
Then how would I let her know? Then how would I let her know?
I already told you. Just tell her you see her as a friend. You don't have to say she's fat.
She's going to still, she's listening to you and all of the people online, just talking to her.
We all know that you didn't just talk to her. The same way you said those girls were flirting with you to get on your show, the same way you were flirting with her over coffee.
I was not flirting with her.
And that's why she thought you liked her.
I was not flirting with her because I'm not interested in her sexually.
All right.
See, you
went there. We don't have the tapes. We have no receipts, so we'll let you slide. Okay, if you say so.
No, it's completely, absolutely true. So you think that every person that I talk to, I'm interested in them sexually?
I don't know because I haven't been there, but if they believe that you're interested, then you probably did do some romantic overtures.
No, absolutely not. At no time did I ever do that.
You're really quick. You saw too many of those satanic cult movies because now you feel like everything is a witch hunt. Everybody is bad shit crazy.
No, I didn't say.
That's not true.
That's an entirely.
Not everybody is imagining things. If you were flirting, then she felt it.
But I was not. She was like a goofy girl who was like a little sister, and I do not find her attractive. But see, when I say that I'm just talking to her, and that I'm not attracted to her, and I say, and then I dare to say, she's too heavy for me, then everyone's upset. See, and you're upset, and you take it. So I cannot imply to her.
I'm not upset. It's just ironic that someone who is not in tip-top physical shape has the nerve to cast such strong judgment about other people who are also not in tip-top physical shape. But you know what? Everybody has their choices. We're not going to knock you here because you decide you want to eat what you want to eat, but you want your girlfriend to be wearing bikinis. I mean, everybody has their choices. Los Angeles, live your dream.
That's just how it is. I have lots of women who like my body the way that it is and are very attracted to me. Just how I am. So what can?
And God forbid that you would do the same.
When I like my first wife, when I would lose weight and start to be too skinny, I would lose a little bit of my tummy. She would say, "That looks effeminate. I don't like that. You're losing too much weight. You need to stop doing that." Some girls like a guy who's a little bit bulky
And it
and a
would be
little
so
bit.
great if you too could like someone who is a little bit bulky or husky yourself.
Okay, you see the condemnation that I'm getting just for saying that.
Condemnation.
I
It's
cannot.
called irony.
I
That
cannot.
A fat person, not that you fat, we're just saying it in the esoteric sense, that a larger, out of shape person would be like, oh wait, I can't date you because you're not in shape. When you yourself are not in shape.
How do you know I'm not in shape?
Okay, I'm not going to pass any judgments, but I'm just saying, perhaps, that the person who you have a standard that you're looking for in a woman that you don't really apply to your own self. So that is the part that's not judgment, it's just ironic.
No, it's not ironic because different people like different things. Some guys like heavy women. That's their thing. I know a guy who likes heavy women, and he just got married to a woman who is a big girl, and that's what he likes.
And I hope they're happy.
And that's his thing, and that's his fetish.
I hope they're happy.
That's his stuff. That's what he likes. So everyone has different things that they like. And I have plenty of girls that think that I am just how I am right now. They like it very much.
And it's just funny that you don't feel the same way about them.
You see, so the point is that I cannot, there's no way I could in any way say to this girl that I don't think that she's attractive.
You can't say it.
Then I would get the same reaction that I'm getting from you. See, just from saying that she isn't. I get the same thing. I get the same reaction the same way.
You could say, look, I know I'm overweight, but you too chunky for me. And let the chips fall where they may. It is what it is. If she's like, wait, what? You and I are the same size. You got a gut, I got a gut. What's the problem? And you're like, look, let me show you these narcissists that I used to date and their bikini pictures. This is what I'm accustomed to. And then she'll just be like, oh, wow, okay, you're right. You're not attracted to me because you're used to these girls that post their bikini pictures on there and devastate your life. Let me move aside, and then she'll be totally understanding. I mean, her feelings will be hurt, but then she'll realize that you want to date.
I don't want to hurt her feelings.
Bikini models. So just let her know.
But I don't want to say that to you. I cannot say that to you. Look how angry you get just because I say I didn't want to go out with a girl who was overweight.
I'm not angry.
Look how much grief you're trying to give me. So I cannot say that to any girl.
Started this off talking about the crazy narcissist.
Wait, we talked too much about that. I told you about that, but before we started this whole thing.
So my point is, I already know what these crazy skinny girls have done, but if that's what you are choosing
I've dated lots of girls that look like that who are not crazy also.
Yes.
And been married to them as well.
Until they start attacking you.
No.
And so
I would still be with my first wife, who was a exotic dancer.
Oh my gosh, you married an exotic dancer?
Yes. If she hadn't have died, if she didn't die of cancer.
Oh, okay. Well, that's sad.
I would still be.
About death.
I would still be with them to this day if my first wife died of cancer. My second wife had a form of diabetes that was undiagnosed that caused her to have brain seizures and become psychotic. So I've lost two wives so far and I would be with both of them to this day until I die if medical problems hadn't taken them away from me. And they were both gorgeous, and they were both beautiful, and they were both. One was a stripper, and she was gorgeous beyond belief. And so, but I cannot.
Was the other one a stripper too?
What? No, the other one was just gorgeous. She was a designer.
Oh, okay.
And it's like guys, again, I'm supposed to tell this girl you're ugly and I don't
I didn't
like
say you tell you're ugly. You just
well,
say
how am I supposed
you
to
see
say
her as
anything
a
to her?
friend and you're not trying to date her. That doesn't mean the person's ugly, and she's not ugly.
I
She's
see you
just
as a
not-
friend and I'm not trying to date you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you haven't hurt my feelings. I'm fine. I'm straight. I'm golden, people. I'm
But look how angry you got when I talked about this girl being overweight. I didn't want to date her.
I didn't say I was angry. I just said it was
If she starts
ironic.
asking me
that
questions,
You never go to a gym, but you're talking about somebody else's body.
how do you know I don't work out? How do you know I don't work out?
I don't know.
I work out all the time, but once you get past 50 and you don't take steroids, it doesn't really matter how much you work out.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's accurate, but you're right. I'm not going to say anything else about that. All I'm saying is that I was not angry. I just found it very ironic and interesting that you had all these physical requirements for women that you do not hold yourself to. I just found that fascinating.
Hey,
but I'm not angry.
A lot of women think that I look very good. So
And
I don't know what to tell you about that. I
don't doubt that.
I don't have any complaints about that. I don't have any complaints about my body. I have a lot of compliments about my body, and I have women doing things to my body and like my body, and they're telling me that my body's very nice, and they think I look great.
You should do this on stage. I mean, I'm not saying that it's comedy per se, but it's pretty close. Well, that's good. You're blessed, and that's wonderful because that's what you need. You need people in your life that celebrate who you are.
But
and that's the main thing.
Well, I mean, again, it just seems. So the thing is, that's what I wrote about. Is that I couldn't be friends with this girl, and I cannot, no matter how much you say I can, imply to her in any shape or form that I don't think she's an attractive girl. I cannot do that.
You don't have to imply to her that she's
that would devastate her.
First and foremost, just because you don't like it doesn't mean she's not attractive.
But it's
that's
sad.
fundamentally
I'm sure that
the base.
you could have guys.
So, at the end of the day, if you're not interested in dating her, there's no problem in saying that. To me, I have friends, guy friends, who aren't interested in dating me. That doesn't make me ugly because I'm not their type or they don't like me. And they've never said that I was ugly. They just said they don't see me like that. And I have friends who are actually, guy friends who are actually very, very attractive. But there's something else that I don't like about them, so I wouldn't date them either. And it doesn't have anything really to do with the person being ugly or fat or me having some issue with their weight or whatever. It's like some people you're attracted to, some people you're not.
I just don't see how I can tell a girl that I'm friends with that I'm not, because I think she's interesting and fun, that I don't think she's attractive without her getting hurt. I just do not see. So I do not do that.
Well, you probably need to learn how to communicate better.
I'm sure we all do.
Because I feel like there is a way to say it without being
then how would I say it?
Like I already told you, if you come at the person and say, I'm not interested in dating you, that
wow.
doesn't mean that it could be a lot of things. And I can't imagine anybody who's going to be like, okay, someone told you that they're not interested in dating you, and now you're going to give them the inquisition. No, you're going to take it as it's given and be like, okay.
All right. It's like there are many women that hit on me all the time that I am just not attracted to in any way, shape, or form. But I love them dearly as people.
Right, and just be like,
but they hit on me and they're like, why don't you like me? And there is absolutely no way I would ever say anything to them about their bodies that
I'm not suggesting what you're doing.
Well, but they ask me, what is it? And there's just no way I could imply to them because I know it would hurt them. I know it would.
Yep.
So I cannot say that to them. And I wouldn't want to hurt their feelings because I do love them dearly. They are my good friends that I care about and love.
And you could easily just say that you see them as a friend. I don't know why.
And they hit on me sexually all the time and say sexual things to me all the time and offer me sex all the time. But there is absolutely no way that I would ever say anything about their bodies or imply there was
I'm not
anything about
suggesting
their
that you
bodies.
do.
And it's just like, so I just stay away from that with any woman. But, you know, a girl who I just think is funny and wonderful and cute in a non-sexual way and interesting and intelligent, and they entertain me when I talk to them and entertain to them, and I like them and have affection for them, and so I do talk to them. But unfortunately, many girls that I feel that way about take my friendship, my platonic friendship, as a romantic
Here you
overture.
go again. No, they don't. I don't feel like all these women are crazy.
I don't think they're crazy. They just
giving
think
them
that
some overture. Otherwise, why would they think
Do
that?
I ever give you those signals? Do you ever think that anything I've ever said to you is a romantic overture in any way?
No.
Okay. Well, I behave the same way with those women as I have with
Wait a
you.
minute, so you trying to say I'm overweight?
See, I could never, ever.
Wait, are you trying to say you're not interested? You trying to say I'm not cute? Wait, what are you saying?
See, I cannot do that because that would hurt somebody's feelings. Of course not, Erica. I think you're the most beautiful woman in the world. Absolutely. But our personalities just aren't compatible.
Just because I have a bikini on my Facebook page, that ain't shit. What are you saying here? What's going on? What are you trying to say? I just want to be clear. I just want to know.
See?
Wait a minute, what you saying now?
So I can see this that. I cannot.
You asked me on your podcast?
I cannot.
But you don't find me attractive?
You see? It's like I'm walking on a tightrope.
I find me funny and smart and entertaining, but I ain't cute. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying here? Is that what you're trying to say?
So you see, I'm worried that I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings like that. So it's like there's no way. So all I did with this girl was I just stopped talking to her. And I just felt like, and now I'm kind of sad, that, you know, because I thought she was a friend. But if I do talk to her, she is going to think that I'm interested in her.
I do not believe that to be true. I have some male friends that are not interested in me, and we're very good friends, and all is right with the world.
Oh yeah. Well, this girl, I found out through an interaction with her that that my thinking that she was worth being friends with, was a woman that was worth being friends with, was being taken as an overture. And I acted the same way towards her as I do towards you.
Well, I don't know, because I wasn't there. So.
I only get this. I get it from girls sometimes, but I only get it from comedy girls. I have other areas of my life where I'm at, where I am social in, and other groups of people that are not comedians.
Oh, now you're trying to say comedians are crazy. Is that what you're saying right now, Mike?
Comedians, I will say that.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Both comedy men and women are crazy, yes. I will say that.
Oh, no. Now,
but I think it's because
now female comics are delusional.
I think it's because female comics are hit on constantly. So if I'm just talking to a girl, they're going to think, oh, here's another one that's hitting on me.
It depends on what you say. Are you like, ooh, come back to my place and be entertaining and intelligent in my bedroom?
I have never, ever said anything. I've been very, very careful, as I have with you, to make sure I have not
Wait a minute, are you trying to say I'm unattractive?
Anything.
I'm trying to go back to this.
You see,
I can't put me into this.
I can't do that. I cannot tell this girl.
I mean, you're not going to be up in Hollywood and McDonald's calling me ugly. I know that.
Yes, we had a McDonald's. So Hollywood
you don't have me at McDonald's after midnight trying to call me ugly. I'm just going to let you know.
You see? I cannot in any way, shape, or form imply that I'm not attracted to her.
You're not going to call me fat and ugly at McDonald's at 12:15 a.m. I know that much.
You see? I can't. I cannot say that. I cannot imply if someone who's a friend.
You can't and you shouldn't, because that's just mean.
It's mean. So I cannot say
you
this to her.
You can just say we're just friends. That's all you have to say.
That's all I have to say.
That's all I have to say.
Why? You think I'm ugly? You think I'm...
Okay, anybody who says all that just has low self-esteem, and they have bigger issues than your friendship.
A lot of people do have low self-esteem.
So they need therapy anyway, because not everybody's gonna like you, you know. And it doesn't have to do with fat. Not everybody's obsessed with body weight like you are. So there are other things.
See, now I'm getting all this grief just because I said she is too heavy a girl for me. Just because I said that.
Things that make people unattractive out like their personality and their narcissism, as you like to tell us, that can make you turn off to somebody. So not all of us are obsessed with weight. So if you were to just tell someone that you just see them as a friend, any person with a sense of self-esteem would leave it there.
I hope so.
I think they would, because if you're already saying you're not interested, then there's nothing to debate. Like, discussing it is not going to make you interested, and I think anyone who fundamentally is an adult will get that.
I don't know if I think that a lot of female
You
comics...
stop talking to these overweight 20-year-olds, and this might not be an issue.
I think that
How old are these comedians? How about that?
It depends. This girl was, I believe, 30-something, which is actually my dating range. 30 to 40-something is where I generally date.
All right, well then,
but
I'll let you slide on that.
But still, there's so many people out there that are just so sensitive, and I just do not know how to say to a woman that I like you as a friend. But I will try. I will give it a shot.
Give it a shot, and if you have me back, let me know how it goes.
They get mad and start yelling at me just to use it.
For the record, everybody, I've been taking spinning, I've been working out. So the next time I go back, I'm here on just some overtures because I will have lost some weight by then.
You see,
for the record.
You cannot say that. You gotta say I'm gonna call this podcast "How to Be Just Friends with a Girl."
Yes.
How
it can be done. I have male friends, and we're cool. We're good. So it can be done.
I think female comics also, in defense of female comics, get hit on all the time.
We do. Like, really, anytime somebody's like, oh, they want to write with you, 88% of the time they just want to have sex with you. They really don't even know what your material is. They don't care about your jokes. Most of the time they are just trying to sleep with you, but they figure that in order to write with you, you're going to have to come to their house, or they're going to have to come to your house. And we're like, okay, let's meet at the coffee shop. Now they're confused. So that's how you know that they're just trying to sleep with you. You know, but not everyone, you're right, not everybody is like that. So
it's, I think, maybe any saying anything to a female comic is problematic.
I mean, anything crazy.
Well, anything just being nice like I am to you.
Oh, no.
So I have to, with female comics, I'm going to have to say something, but I don't know what. If I'm not interested in dating them, I'm going to have to say no.
Yeah, you're going to have to turn it down before they get naked. That would be my first.
I'm going to have to say something.
Suggestion is don't let them take their clothes off. That would be my first suggestion for you. Let's see. Wait, what's our address here? 6776 Hollywood?
Hollywood Boulevard.
Okay. Look, it's raining out there. I need my Uber to pick me up right in front.
Well, I'm taking you out there with the umbrella.
Oh, well, that's good. But it's cold and raining.
So that you have some protection walking home with my umbrella. I bought that umbrella. That's like my 10th umbrella this year. I buy an umbrella and I'm able to keep it only for a short time before I leave it. Inevitably in an Uber, in a bus, in a car, at a restaurant, in a McDonald's on Hollywood Boulevard.
Exactly. Well, this has been fun, Mark, I must say.
No, I think this was a good podcast.
This was a great podcast.
I think it was very, very good. So hopefully...
I hope those male comics out there have learned something. And you best not to call me fat or ugly to my face, especially after midnight. That's just ridiculous. I'm just going to let you all know that's something you don't need to do.
Don't tell a girl you want to be just friends with her.
You can say just friends. Don't say just friends because you overweight. Just leave Just end the sentence at just friends, and then we all have some self-respect and dignity up in here. That's all I'm saying, people.
All right, so signing off. So where can people find you online, Erika?
You can follow me on all of my social media at Erika, Erikad as in door, Edwards. So that's Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'm comedian Erika Edwards. That's Erika with a K on Facebook.
All right, so that's where they can find you. That's where you can find Erika and see where her shows are, so you can come there.
Yes, and I do a lot of podcasts actually on AfterBuzz TV. So come watch me review the heck out of some amazing TV shows as well. So that's AfterBuzz TV on YouTube and AfterBuzzTV.com on the internet.
Is it AfterBuzz TV YouTube with Erika Edwards, or what is it?
It's AfterBuzz TV, and then it's based on shows. So the panels that I'm on are this TV show called Deception, Real Housewives of Atlanta, Unreal, and I'm going to be on another one coming up called Terror. And I might be on a after show for the HBO show coming out called Barry. I'm not sure yet. So
those are roles that you're in?
They're what we do is after the show airs, we do an after show where we do a review and recap, and we give you like news
so it's
about
like
the actors.
Talking Dead.
Or yes, I don't know.
Talking Dead is probably the most famous after show, and that's what The Walking Dead. There's a podcast called Talking Dead, where people talk about the show Walking Dead. Probably the most famous.
Yeah, and AfterBuzz has one for Walking Dead. I'm not on it because I don't watch that show. But yes, and so we also have, we stream live on YouTube, and then we also have under AfterBuzz TV on iTunes as well.
All right.
So that's where you can find me, people.
So have you seen the Black Panther?
Of course. Every black person should have seen it by now, or I don't know what y'all doing with your life. That's the first thing I have.
I still haven't seen the movie, but I've been waiting for the movie to come out since I was 7 years old when I first started buying Black Panther comic books. And it's sad that Jack Kirby, who created the Black Panther, is not around alive anymore to see
is sad.
But Stan Lee is still around, who had a hand in creating the Black Panther. It was probably mostly Jack Kirby, like it is. All the Marvel characters were mostly created by Jack Kirby, but at least his family is getting some money now, which is good because they won the lawsuit. But that's a whole other podcast. So anyway, signing off.
Can't wait to signing off, you guys. Ciao for now. Bye.